Hi guys, welcome to our daily encounter. Today we enter into the book of the Song of Solomon. And this is a book about love. It's not very hard to figure out as you're reading through the book that this is a book about love. And it's a book about the love between Solomon and his bride. And what is oftentimes overlooked in this book is the fact that this isn't necessarily the perfect relationship. Yes, they do love one another. There is that affection, that devotion, that enjoyment of one another. But there are times in which that enjoyment and that satisfaction in one another is disrupted. As a matter of fact, you can kind of section the book out by this ebb and flow of their relationship. Hudson Taylor has an excellent book called Union and Communion, in which he goes through and he relates the Song of Solomon to the Christians' experience and their relationship with Christ. And he sections them off roughly in the same way. In chapter 1 through chapter 2 and verse 7, you have the unsatisfied life, that is, or we could say the desire of this relationship between the two. The bride desiring Solomon, even though she feels unworthy of his love. Solomon confirms his love for her, and it makes for a great introduction in that it shows both the mutual love that they have for one another and the mutual desire for relationship that they have. But then when you get into chapter 2 and verse 8 through chapter 3 and verse 3, you have that relationship disrupted. The bride seems to kind of backslide a little bit and kind of loses the reality of that relationship, kind of lose focus with the relationship. But it's restored again in chapter 3 and verses 4 through 5 in a very strong way. And then in chapter 3 and verse 6 through chapter 5 and verse 1, you have the joy of unbroken relationship, of undisrupted relationship between the two, and it just overflows and overpours with words and statements of love and adoration and care and desire between these two individuals. But then once again in chapter 5 and verse 2 through chapter 6 and verse 3, you have the relationship disrupted again. The bride kind of gets caught up in her own luxury and self-satisfaction that she misses being able to spend time with her husband when he comes knocking at the door. And then a lot of that section is about her trying to get back in the presence of her love, and then of her lover. And then in chapter 6, verse 4 through verse 10, you have the relationship restored again. They're back together again, enjoying one another once again. Starts off with, I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. And it goes on from there. And then from chapter 6 and verse 11 to the end, you just have unbroken union between these two individuals, and a very beautiful section there. And so as we look over it from a bird's eye view of the Song of Solomon, you can see that this relationship was very strong. They both loved each other dearly. There was no lack of love or affection or care for one another, but the relationship did get disrupted when the bride kind of got distracted by things. When she began to care for the things of the world, began to become self-focused, the relationship would have a kink in it, and she would have to put out some effort to get back into the presence of her lover, to get back into his presence once again, and go back to the enjoyment of that relationship. And that might sound familiar because that's exactly what we experience oftentimes in our relationship with Christ. There's no doubt that we love the Lord. We do love the Lord very much. And there's no doubt that the Lord loves us dearly. The fact that he died on the cross for us demonstrates his love, but the 1,000,001 other blessings that he's brought to us also confirm the fact that he loves us very much. And the problem isn't necessarily maybe that we don't love the Lord enough. It's just that we get distracted. We begin to get focused on the things of the world. We start getting focused on ourselves. And we start allowing our hearts to drift away from Christ. And as a result, and when we let that go on long enough, we start looking around and say, where is the Lord that I love so much? How is it that I've lost sight of him? And the encouragement is that when we find ourselves in that situation, that we can do what the bride here did and begin to seek him once again, to go out and to seek him with all of our heart, to desire him once again, to put aside all the worldliness, the selfishness perhaps that we've had, and just humbly fall before him, seeking him in prayer, and connecting with him again in worship, getting back into the word, putting him back in the forefront of our minds, and having this inward desire for him, and this inner draw within us for the Lord, until we get to the point that we are just seeking him continually. And what we'll find is that the Lord comes back to us, and he does allow himself to be known to us and to manifest his presence with us, so that we can enjoy that relationship once again, and enjoy that relationship of love and devotion and care and enjoyment once again. So wherever we're at on the spectrum, wherever we're at from the Song of Solomon, if we're in in our relationship with the Lord, if we're in a situation where we are close to him, where we are in union and communion with Christ, and we're drawing close to him, then we can find encouragement from this book to keep that going, to keep our relationship going. Or if we find ourselves in a situation where we have drifted from the Lord because we've gotten distracted by 1,000 other things, we can be encouraged by the Song of Solomon to get back to the Lord, to do whatever it takes to abide in his presence once again, to connect with him once again, and to walk with him for the rest of our lives. So these are some things we can reflect on and think about as we go through the book of the Song of Solomon. And with that, guys, I do thank you for watching the video today. Hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. God bless.